if they need to be vulnerable with us, they can feel totally comfortable to be vulnerable with us. Why? Because we're not there to judge them. We're not there to say that, oh, that's wrong, that's right. We're there to really support them in the journey forward. Hey everyone, welcome back to Coaching Changes Lives. So glad you can join us this coming week. Now, in this episode, we're going to look at one thing called how do we hold our space? How do we hold the space for our clients in the coaching conversation? And not just coaching conversation, but also in the communication skills. How do we hold the space for ourselves and for the client? So if you're new to our channel, do remember to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned with all the latest videos that we have for you. So really, what we really believe in is that coaching is conversational mastery, and we hope that all these videos inspires you and to help you improve your conversations, one conversation at a time. So today we're going to look at and study how do we hold the space for clients, and when we say holding the space, what do we really mean, and how do we do that practically for our clients? Now, when we hear the word holding the space, we think about how do we actually help support the client to really fully express themselves totally. Now, in the space that we have for our clients, sometimes one of the key challenges is this: how do we actually make the client feel really comfortable to really share whatever they're feeling on your heart and really to open up to us? One of the key challenges that we face is this: that clients are often stuck in a certain situation, in a certain context that they may feel that they're not able to get out. And one of the possibilities could be that they're feeling that this space that we've created is not a safe enough environment for them. And that's why one of the things that as coaches we do is not so much about the questioning that you do, it's not so much about the active listening that you do, but more about creating that safe space for the client, because that will be the enzyme, that will be the catalyst for the client to go deeper. Because think about this: if the space is not safe, if the space is not comfortable for them, they will never go deeper with you. No matter what techniques you use, no matter how good you're using the techniques, if they don't feel a sense of safety, they don't feel a sense of comfort, it's unlikely they can go deeper with you. When we do deep inner work with our clients, we want to make sure that we hold the space secure for our clients, that they feel totally comfortable to go really deep with you and to feel that connection in the whole coaching process. So I'm going to share with you some practical tips you can use in your coaching conversation to really help you to hold the space for your clients and to really acknowledge the totality of the client. In the coaching conversation, we always talk about not just working at the issues the client has at hand, but also working at the totality of the client. How those issues impact their lives, how those issues impact their work, how those issues impact their health, how those issues impact every part of them. So those are going to be really, really important as well. So holding the space really is about going deeper. Holding the space is really about creating that safety net for the client. And many people say it sounds so esoterical, it sounds so untouchable, right? Sounds really hard for you to hold and feel. How do we do that? Well, one of the secrets is this: when we hold a space, it's just like this. Pausing and just creating that safe space for the client, and just looking at the client in the eyes and just staring at them and just look at them and smile. Now, we also acknowledge that some cultures, looking at a person's eyes may not help. So sometimes just looking away, giving that space for the client, just looking away. Just allowing the breathing to come back in the moment and just holding that space for them. Now, too often coaches are very quick to want to share something, to ask the next question, to probe in, to go deeper and go faster and go faster. But you see, there's a space for that. But when we notice at a certain moment in the conversation, when it's time for us to go deeper, that's when you pause and just look at the client and just probe in without any questions. Just using your body, using your energy, probing into the client. Now, when we do that, what happens is this: the client now we have created an environment, a space where there's no additional information, there's no imposition of content from the coach. It's just a free space. In that free space, the client is then able to express themselves. So sometimes clients ask me questions, right? Or they share me their thoughts. And I would often pause 1 to 2 seconds right after they share before asking the next question. Now, why do I do that? Because I'm sensing whether there's something else that the client wants to share. And if there is, I will hold my question. I will just pause and listen to them and tune myself in. And that is going to be really, really important in holding the space. So let me share with you 5 practical tips you can use to really help you to improve holding your space with the client. Now, number 1 is this. So number 1 is being there for your client, being there for your client. Now, what do we mean by being there for the client? Well, when we say being there, it's not just physical embodiment, but also thinking in the emotional realm, in the spiritual realm, in the soul realm, where we are right now with the client. Are we there with the client, or are we there with ourselves? Are we there trying to get through the whole process? Are we there really manifesting and walking with the client? What are we doing? What do we mean by being there with the client? So when we say being there with the client means this, that you are actively working with the client one step at a time, working it consistently like this, right? Moving the client forward, helping them get engaged, helping them get resolved, helping them to find where they're moving towards their dreams and goals. So that's what we mean by moving them one step at a time. Really, really simple process, right? Being there. Now, when you notice that you're moving away and you want to get back to be there with the client, how do we do that? Sometimes we can do centering, sometimes we can refocus ourselves, sometimes we can do a mindful breathe, sometimes we can just change our respiration. One of the quick secrets and tips is this. I always try to tell coaches this, that if you find yourself getting distracted, just take a deep breath. Or a quick breath, right? Through the nostrils and just breathe out. Now that will allow, when you change your respiration, you change your state. You're able now to refocus back with the client in front. Now, even if you get distracted and you forget what the client has said, then you can do this. Mr. Client, how would you say that differently? How would you summarize that? How would you, tell me more about that? How can we go deeper in that? What is happening there? Okay, so that's what you can do when we mean by being there for your client. The second thing you can do, it's allowing the client for self-expression. Holding the space to allow the client for self-expression. Now, sometimes the client wants to express himself and they might not be comfortable in a social context to really share all out they have. So as a coach, what we want to do is to create a safe space for them to create self-expression. Now, self-expression, by that we mean that to allow the client to really be bold, to just talk about things that's on their heart, to share things on their heart, and to really be there, to just really connect. And you know what, when we say self-expression, we are also saying that to allow the client to really fully express totally. And if they need to be vulnerable with us, they can feel totally comfortable to be vulnerable with us. Why? Because we're not there to judge them. We're not there to say that, oh, that's wrong, that's right. We're there to really support them in the journey forward. So client self-expression is going to be really, really important. Now, what are the evidence of self-expression? The evidence of self-expression, when the client can feel from the start of the conversation to the middle of the conversation, the client can feel lighter, the client can feel more expressive, the client is able to then share more emotional shifts with you. And you are able then to pick up more nuances that's happening in the client. And in that moment, you're allowing the client to really express themselves, their thoughts. I remember I had one client who I was talking to, who was coaching, and the client was very refined. And as we approached deeper and deeper into the conversation, it reached to a point where there was something I noticed the client was struggling to get out of his system. And I was just probing it more and giving him the space. And I just facilitating the process to allow him to self-express himself. Now, I hold back, I just pause, and I said, is there something that you would like to say? If there is, this is a safe space. And I just allow you to just express out whatever they have inside. Just don't be afraid. This is a safe space. And I give a few moments for the client to share that. I give a space for the client to share that. And in that moment, what happened was this. The client then was able to then say, screw it. Then he said with the loudest voice. He spoke several vulgarities, and for the first time I heard him using some strong words. He never used any strong words before, but in that moment he used strong words, and suddenly right after he said that, I saw the whole body just relaxing. The whole body, all the emotions just got out, and all the whole body just relaxed. And that was a beautiful moment right there, the moment of self-expression. Now third is the ability to actually do what we call with kindness, care, compassion, and consideration. Holding the space with kindness, care, compassion, consideration. Sometimes one of the things that as coaches we do, we want to show our care to the client. And how do we care? Do we just touch our hearts and listen with our ears? No. The demonstration of kindness, the demonstration of care, it's one that the client can feel tangibly. Not something that we say, but something the client can feel. Now, I've seen leaders who go around telling people, listen with your ears and listen with your heart. I'm there for you. Well, they can see all those fanciful things, but in action, when people are going there with problems and challenges, they're ignoring them. That is not true demonstration of kindness. That is just verbalizing some political niceties that you're just trying to tell someone else, but it's not demonstrable. When we say kindness, kindness is a word that is not just spoken. Kindness is a word that we embody. When someone is kind to another person, they're loving the person unconditionally. And that's why when we have care, we're also loving the person unconditionally. Sometimes we call this unconditional love, unconditional care, a care without regard. When we care for our clients, are we caring for them because they're our client? Or are we caring for them because they are a real human being, opposite of us? How are we caring for them? It's going to be very, very important. Next, we have number 4, which is promoting self-acceptance and avoid adversarial relationship with self. So we want our clients in the process to be able to accept themselves for who they are. Because sometimes there's some parts of the client that they don't feel comfortable with, some parts of the clients they don't feel altogether there, some parts of the clients they don't feel that is useful. But you know what? We want them to avoid any form of adversarial relationship with self, because sometimes the inner conflict can cause more conflict internally and cause more harm and cause more emotional trauma for them. So what we want to do in the coaching process is to allow them to actually self-love themselves, to love themselves again, to accept themselves for who they are. And that's going to be a really, really important process, allowing themselves to accept themselves for who they are. So self-acceptance, and to avoid them from being adversarial to the relationship to themselves. So that's going to be key. The next that we have, it's emotional state. Holding the space is all about emotional states, managing your state as a coach, managing the client's state over there as well. If the client's exhibiting a strong emotional state, what do? Do we straight away give them some tissue paper? Do we straight away just comfort them, touching them on the shoulders? What do we do? Now, in the coaching process, if we are holding the space for the client, we allow the client to fully express the emotion, the deep emotions that they're having. With neutrality, with no judgment, just being there for them and holding the space for them and just acknowledging the process there. Now, we want to avoid giving them tissues too quickly. We want to avoid touching their shoulders too quickly, because that moment right there, the client is doing a deep inner work. They're resolving something that is deep inside. Now, when we touch them, when we say, "Oh, it's okay, I'm here to support you," what happens is now you will have actually just influenced their inner work that they're doing with themselves. Why? Because in future, when they're facing a similar context, they need someone else to support them. They need someone else to be there. We're not saying that we're not supporting them, but what we're saying is this: we want our clients to be able to accept themselves. We want our clients to be able to self-love. We want our clients to be able to manage the emotions themselves without the coach. Because when they go through life, they're not going through life with you. They're going through life by themselves, and we want them to take courage to say, "Hey, it's okay. Doesn't matter what happens in front of you, but take courage, because you know that the coach is there. You know that we are there supporting you. You know that at the end, you are strong enough. You're able. You're more than able. You're enough. You're able to move forward in this position." Now, emotional states are so important. When we talk about emotional states, we're talking about not just the client's state, but also the coach's state. Are we affected? For example, if you have a client who has a strong anger that's demonstrated in front of you, how do we get back into the moment and not be affected by the emotional states? For example, suppose you had a session before today, and you had a client who was very, very angry, very strong in emotions, and right after that you have another client. How do you as a coach get back into state and not be affected by the sessions? Or for example, a client before you might be crying and feeling really, really sad about certain situation. How do you get out of the state and move into a new state of mind? So those are emotional state practice. We cover this also more in our advanced classes as well, how we manage our emotions, how we manage our emotional state, how we manage emotional conversation as well. If you'd like to learn more about that, do just drop us a message, drop us a comment below, and we'll get back to you as well. So there you have 5 principles of how you can actually hold the space for your client. Now, this is only part 1. I will come up with a few series of videos that will really help you to hold the space even much deeper. Now, the trick is this: it's less of you, it's more of the client. It's going to be less of you, more of the client. The more you hold the space, the more you're invincible. You're invisible, not invincible, but invisible in the space. And all the client is experiencing is just themselves, and they're feeling comfortable with who they are in the moment, in the space of the conversation. And that's going to be really important as we build the coaching practice for our clients, as we build the coaching journey for our clients. One of the beautiful things is that when we hold the space, the client now is at rest. The client can rest easy, knowing that, hey, it doesn't matter, right? I can rest easy knowing that all will be well for me. And in the process, I'm okay to be vulnerable. I'm okay to share from my heart. I'm okay to express fully. Now, why is that so important? So that we can unravel what is the deep issues the client is facing. What are not just the surface issue, but going deeper to the core issues, going deeper to what is really holding the client back. Now, if we can resolve that, we have just worked on the problem, beneath the problem, to help the client and inspire change and to maximize potential. So there you have, right, our powerful core competency of today, where we break down competency and we go deeper by taking one of the key elements of the competency and we're laying on. So the competency will always be the foundation, but now we're layering on one of the layered on tactics or techniques. It's what we call holding the space for the client. So there you have, in our videos that we share with you all over YouTube as well, it's about helping you to lay the foundation of the competency and then layering on the different techniques and tactics that we can use to really employ in the coaching conversation to help the client to create a better and more robust outcome. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and share this with a friend and tag. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we're going to have new exciting videos every single week for you. Until next time, this is Jedi here at Coaching Jesus Lives. See you really soon.